Boys, today I am going to be finally mixing in some of the college help interview content that my TikTok is very much full of into my YouTube. And one of the best ways I found to do that was like this interview AI page where they give you a question and then you try and answer that question and it tells you how well you did at the interview question. Now, I'm not a super fan of their grading system and I'll go over that later, but I genuinely think that this site is put together surprisingly well. So I will be answering a couple of these questions. First of all, really slowly walking you through my thought process where I'll read the question and then try and answer it. And then I'll try and do one where I'm struggling a little bit and I don't know the answer as well. And I put myself on the spot where you can do this like voice mode where they ask it like you're in an interview and I have to come up with the answer on the spot. Now it's AI, right? So it's not a real interview. It feels a little bit less authentic, so it's a little bit more difficult. On top of that, I don't have like paper and things to write things out. I can't like show the camera, which is typically what I do in an interview. It's like showing them things. But regardless, this is still a great tool. I've done a few practice questions. Let me just kind of walk you through what I've done already. 2 identical cups of coffee are at 95 degrees Celsius. One cup is placed on a shiny metal countertop. The other cup is placed on a wooden table. After 10 minutes, which coffee is cooler? And I did this actually with that voice mode where they asked me and I had to come up with something on the spot. And what I said is, the coffee that should be cooler is the one that is put on the shiny metal countertop. Metal takes away heat from objects much better than wood. For example, when you touch metal, it feels cold to the touch. The reason that is because it is extracting the heat from your warm hands. That is why it feels cool to the touch. But when you touch wood, it feels like a normal room temperature because it is extracting less heat from your hand. Therefore, metallic objects extract heat from warm objects faster than wooden objects do. I don't quite remember the exact equation or property of metal that causes this. I believe it is something like the R value of metal or something similar to this, but that is the logical reasoning behind why this happens, right? If you answered this way in an interview, it'd be a great answer. Obviously, if you can remember the exact value, that'd be great. They did tell me it's thermal conductivity, which is the R value, I thought it was R value, thermal resistance. Thermal conductivity is what they were looking for, which I think is K value. Thermal conductivity. Yeah, it's your K value. Yeah. So I was close, but then the site like actually grades you. And honestly, this is pretty cool how they grade you. You correctly identified metal. Your understanding of thermal conductivity differences, right? It's solid. You correctly explained the tactile sensation mechanism, which is like super cool to me, right? That's an easy way to know. Your hands, right? Your body is 93 degrees or whatever, right? The temperature around you is actually colder. So this foam block is the same temperature as this metal. Why does metal feel cool? The reason it feels cool is because it's pulling heat out of you much faster than this is. But both of them are technically the same temperature, right? That's just kind of a fun engineering fact. And then they also talk about critical thinking, which this is what really matters in an interview, right? If they're asking you technical questions, they don't really care what you know. They care about your ability to like think about things critically because that shows you can learn things that you don't know. Your analogy to touching metal. The fact that the AI also could pick up on the analogy is very impressive, right? I'm pretty sure, obviously I haven't answered a question multiple times, so I don't know if they give different answers every time, but I'm very impressed by the way that it almost seems to give unique feedback to your answer. You recognize the cause and effect relationship, your logical progression. Yeah, super impressive website. So let's run through one of these. A steel beam bends permanently under load. What failure mode occurred? Oh, this is K. So, just to kind of talk you guys through this one, you have a steel beam. We'll draw an I-beam. And it is bent permanently under load. What failure mechanism occurred? So, first of all, what is going to cause it to bend is it's probably simply supported here. So you have forces in both directions. You have moments in all directions. This is a fixed point. And then you have a load profile somewhere on this beam, right? Something like that, and forces all around. When you have a load profile, it is going to slowly start to bend the beam in this direction. Now, obviously this is an exaggerated drawing, but as forces build up, obviously the beam is going to bend like this. What causes that? What happens is you have a moment on that beam, and that moment exceeded the stress, the yielding stress, causing the beam to stay permanently deformed. That's essentially all you really need for this answer. And that's kind of the rough engineering explanation behind it. So let's see how it likes my answer. I am, for whatever reason, very nervous to answer this interview question with the camera on. Just full transparency, this feels incredibly awkward, but let's try it. Clearly, the beam had some form of force pushing on it, creating a moment as the beam is very long. And this is what caused the beam to bend in the first place. Beams are designed to bend a little bit under stress though, so this is not an issue. What the issue is the fact that the beam remained permanently bent. This means that the stress the beam experienced exceeded the beam's yield stress, forcing it to be permanently deformed. One thing that's kind of frustrating to me is the lack of commas and periods that it adds. I want to try something. I like turtles, period. So I'm a little bit frustrated it doesn't auto add commas and periods. That kind of weirds me out as I'm speaking. And I speak a little bit differently, trying to like force it to, but whatever. I think that this answer is pretty good. It's not super in-depth. I'm trying to think of other things I could add that would be more in-depth. And this is just honestly a really simple question. Let's see how it does. And it's pretty quick. Give me 2 out of 5 on this way, 4 out of 5 on this side. All right. You correctly identified the permanent deformation occurs when stress exceeds yield stress. Perfect. Your understanding of plastic deformation mechanism is accurate. You recognize the distinction between elastic and permanent. Perfect. You didn't identify this as oh my gosh, look at that. Before I even, like, as I said it, by name. Yeah, I should have said that. Like, that's crazy. Literally the thing that they mentioned, I picked up, I should have said that, and I never said it by name. Awesome. You recognize that some deflection under load is normal. Perfect. You provided no prevention strategies. Well, you didn't ask for any. Oh, they totally... They totally did ask for them. Yeah, that's fair grading. I did not. Increasing the moment of inertia. Yeah, so essentially your bending moment equation is my over I. So you can increase the denominator or decrease the numerator. So I is our moment of inertia on the bottom. So if we increase that, we will decrease the yield stress. We can increase Y, which is essentially just making the beam taller. Which will do the same thing, or we can decrease the actual moment on the beam. Those are really your only options. Or yes, you could also use higher strength steel, which with a higher yield stress. That is also an option. Or adding more supports, which is just decreasing the moment. So yeah, all of this is good, and I completely dropped the ball on that. No consideration of practical engineering solutions or design modification. Yeah, I just didn't do solutions at all. If you had something like this, typically what you would do is I mean, we have this sometimes. I don't work in civil engineering. This at my company would fall under civil engineering. But what we would do most likely is add more supports. I don't think we'd really change the design of the beam. We have pretty standard steel beams. Cool. GD&T, I don't know shit for this. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't even try. Manufacturing processes. A chef notices that a polished steel knife resists rust better than a rough scratch knife. Why does this happen? I actually am not entirely sure that I know. Let me try and come up with an answer. So my first thought is material differences, right? Polished knife could be a different material. It could be stainless steel, while this is some form of, doubt you'd make a knife out of carbon steel or some other steel that allows it to rust, and it also happens to be a weaker material. So that's one option. The other thing is if you have a polished surface, there's less discontinuities on the knife, whereas in a rough scratch knife, there's more discontinuities and there's more surface area for oxygen to bond with. Just having a more polished finish in general slightly resists rust, but not a bunch. Yeah, let me try that for an answer. Let's see what they say. Maybe I can learn something here. The first thing that comes to my mind is possible different materials. It could be that the chef, when they are using polished knives, is using a stronger material like a stainless steel or something similar that happens to be more resistant to scratching as well as more resistant to rusting. The other thing is just having a more polished surface in general is a good idea to decrease discontinuities on the surface and decrease the chances of rust. When you have scratches, it increases surface area and allows areas for water and oxygen to pool up and sit on the knife and corrode it away faster. This is why keeping metal in good condition is going to greatly increase its lifespan. I think that's a good answer overall. Let me try and guess what they're going to grade it before they grade it. And I bet I get a 4 out of 5 on the left. I bet I get like a 3 out of 5 on the right. I feel like there's something on the fixing it that I didn't really happen to answer. This is cool. I like this site a lot. If you guys do really like this, I will pay for the full thing and try and do more like I'm going to do the next one, where I'm going to have them read me the question. I just have to answer it. Boom, right there, right there. I said 4 out of 5 and 3 out of 5, right? I literally nailed that. You correctly identified that scratches increase surface area. Perfect. You understanding of water and oxygen accumulation and surface discontinuities. Yep. You recognize the surface roughness creates corrosion. Cool. The specific mechanism of how microscopic crevices trap moisture and corrode. I mean, I feel like I kind of played into this. I would actually disagree with the AI here. I think I did kind of cover that. Critical thinking. You consideration of, stainless, practical engineering judgment. Perfect. You recognize the maintenance implication that keeping metal in good condition increases lifespan. It absolutely does. That's something that's really important at our current job, or at my current job. You connected surface condition to corrosion resistance in real world applications. Yeah, well, I blame that on your lack of periods from your site. I genuinely think that as far as their criteria goes, I didn't miss either of these misses. So I think that this is a very good answer. If you answered this in an interview, it would fall under like the perfect category. As long as you spoke it better than I did, obviously. This is just one long paragraph. But now for this next one, but what I'm going to do is do voice mode, where it reads me the question. I just have to answer it right then and there. I'm not going to talk you guys through my thought process. That way I'm not thinking about it.
Why does higher cutting speed sometimes reduce tool wear?
I totally panicked. I just have to answer right then and there. For whatever reason, I swear to God I'm good at interviews. I swear in a real interview I do great. I panicked. I just can't do it with an AI. I can't. Okay. I'll try that again with a fluid mechanics question. But for now, why does higher cutting speed sometimes reduce tool wear? To be honest, I genuinely don't know the answer. Thinking about it from an engineering perspective, when you're moving very high speeds, the tool, if it's a stronger material, is always going to cut the weaker material. But if it's moving at low speeds, you have the ability for things to get caught and chip, is really just my only thought. Let me come back to that one. Okay. A rocket engine requires continuous fuel flow to operate. If the fuel pump fails during flight, what design approach ensures fuel delivery continues without interruption? Gravity. I also don't know the answer to this one. Let me try gravity as an answer. A fuel pump failing is going to make it very difficult for continuous flow, as the fuel pump is the primary way for fuel to hit the engine. But you can always use other forces like head pressure through gravity to force fuel into the engine even through a pump failure. I have no clue how that's going to be for an answer. I'm very curious, actually. Holy shit, I did terrible. Now that I've broken that, I've done terrible. I'm just going to answer the next one. Okay, voice mode, boom.
You are in a car and you are holding a helium balloon. When the car accelerates forward, which direction does the balloon move and why?
The balloon should move with the car. At the end of the day, the car is a system, and inside the car, all of the air moves with the car as well. So when you're at a constant speed, the balloon will be moving at the same speed as the car. But initially, as the car is accelerating, the balloon will be pushed back or pulled back into the seat, the same way that you are. You will notice that when a car accelerates very fast, you move backwards into the seat, but then when you're at a constant speed, you feel like you're moving naturally with the car. Same thing when the car slows down, the seat belt is holding you against the seat as well. So as the car is accelerating forward, the balloon will move backwards. As it's decelerating, the balloon will move forward, and when you're at a constant speed, the balloon will move with the car. Bam! Bam! Oh, good answer. Good answer. Overall, nice long answer on the spot. I bet, okay, I'm not looking in case they spit it out already. I bet I got a 4 and a 4. What? I bet I got a 4 and a 4. Oh no. Buoyancy mechanisms. It moves forward during acceleration? No, that doesn't make sense. The car is accelerating. The balloon is inside. The balloon is at velocity 0. Did I really get this wrong? Interesting. I thought I got 5 and 4 or something. Oh, wow. Failed to recognize that air has greater inertia than helium, creating a pressure gradient. Does that matter? It's a balloon. It's just an object in the car. Apparently I just don't understand this. Buoyancy forces. Buoyancy forces are just going to push the balloon upward. Then as the car is moving forward, you're telling me the balloon is going to accelerate faster than the car? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That doesn't seem correct to me. The car is going to be accelerating forward and the balloon is moving forward in the car that's also accelerating forward, that doesn't make sense. That's not possible. I genuinely think the AI is wrong. If I am wrong, tell me in the comment section, but I genuinely actually think the AI is wrong here. Let me do another one of these. What are the five Lagrange points in the Earth-Sun system? And why are L4 and L5 stable? The fuck if I know. Okay, let me try an aerospace.
A composite overwrapped pressure vessel is wound with carbon fiber at 45 degrees and fails at lower pressure than expected. How does fiber angle affect pressure vessel strength?
I don't work with composite pressure vessels at all. So carbon fiber is the stiffener. Yeah, I just don't know. Okay, we'll do voice mode on this one. I haven't read it yet.
A skateboard deck consists of two bonded layers, steel on top and aluminum on bottom. When a rider stands on the center of the board, causing it to bend downward, which layer experiences greater stress?
The aluminum is in tension and the steel on top is in compression. Because aluminum is in tension and is a weaker material, it is going to experience higher. Ooh, actually, I want to speak because then the eyes are. Let me read the question again. Okay, a skateboard consists of two bonded layers, steel on top and aluminum on bottom. So the aluminum is under tension and the steel is in compression. The aluminum whatever. I'm just gonna try. I honestly don't know. The aluminum is in tension as it is on the bottom, and the steel is in compression on top. The aluminum is going to fail first as it is a weaker material, and metals are typically weaker in tension than they are in compression. That being said, given both are experiencing the same force and the same supporting forces, and both are simply experiencing most stress due to moment, they, I believe, have the exact same stress, even though the aluminum will fail first. I think that answer is wrong. I'm not confident in that answer, actually. Yeah, they added another category for me, so I wouldn't feel bad. I said that aluminum is weaker. I mean, I guess I didn't consider the elastic modulus because I didn't use this equation. Oh, they have equal strain. I didn't think about that. Because they're different materials, that's why this equation matters. So, okay, when you have a material that has a different strain, right, one is more willing to bend from the same stress. Therefore, the steel is less willing to bend. So it's actually going to, like, put a stress at that bondage point between the aluminum and the steel, because they're both experiencing the same force, but they want to bend more or less, so they're actually putting a force on each other. I didn't consider that at all. I'll do one more, that way I can end on a good one. You guys can't think I'm a complete idiot. This is the question: why does higher cutting speed sometimes reduce tool wear? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not as familiar with tool wear, but my initial gut reaction is that when a tool is moving incredibly fast, it is always going to be able to cut away from the metal, because it's moving so fast and it is a harder material. But if it's moving slow, it could get caught on the material at times and cause the material of the tool to chip or things similar, as the tool is not moving fast enough to guarantee cutting the other material. God, I'm so bad at these, to be honest. This is honestly a great site to practice on. This is not my... I wish they had an interview... a non-technical version. Yeah, I did bad. Oh, thermal softening? Yeah. I don't know enough about material tooling. Let me check if there is a, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, if you guys are struggling with, interviews, I think that sites like that, exploring them, be a good spot to check. But overall, if you're in a technical interview, as long as you kind of explain your thought process and you can show critical thinking, you'll be fine. I know it's giving me like a 2 out of 5 and a 2 out of 5 and stuff like that. As long as I'm showing critical thinking and you're having a conversation with the interviewer, you'll be fine. I promise.